So I've been spending the last couple days with this pedal in the studio, and it's reminding me why I love Bluesbreaker circuits so much. Today we're talking about the Warm Audio Throne of Tone, which is a dual overdrive circuit that focuses in on that classic Bluesbreaker sound from a couple different vantage points. If you're familiar with Warm Audio, you probably know that their approach is to take some classic circuits, add some flair, some features, and some quality of life improvements, and present them at really affordable prices, and the Throne of Tone is no exception to that. It's a cool way of kind of melding a couple of the classic Bluesbreaker circuits and presentations that we've known over the years, and giving you a lot of different features and control over that circuit in this dual drive format. So if you notice the enclosure, if you're familiar with the classic Bluesbreaker, it's sort of paying homage to that enclosure, that physical aesthetic here, which is cool. And it also leans pretty heavily into the circuit topology of the modern boutique darling, the King of Tone, which pairs a couple identical Bluesbreaker circuits with a lot of different mods and tweaks that you can apply to those circuits, the ability to stack them both or run them independently. It just sort of is the souped up, idealized version of the classic Bluesbreaker circuit, and it's one that I've come to love. I've come to use a ton in the studio. The Bluesbreaker sound and circuit has become my home base, and so it's been really fun to spend time with this Throne of Tone and just explore some of those nuances and features and all the different variations and tweaks and kind of customizations you can make to that sound with the Throne of Tone. So we're going to go over all the control sets here and what you get with the Throne of Tone, and then go through a pretty extended sound sample section to show you some of the different tones you can get by utilizing, the different modes, the different gain modes and the voicings and things like that. But before we dive in here, if you're new to the channel, thanks for watching. Please hit subscribe below so you can stay up to date on future videos here, and drop any questions or comments you've got below in the comments, and we'll chat down there. So for the sake of this video, we're going to talk about and focus in on just one side of the pedal here, because you essentially have two identical circuits on this pedal that share the same control set. You have an order toggle up here that allows you, when stacking, to decide which of these circuits comes first, but you can run them independently, or you can stack them to kind of create your idealized overdrive or distortion sound. You also have the luxury up top here of having an effects send and return, which can essentially act as an in and out for these two circuits to allow you to put each side of them into an effects looper or something like that to be able to control them remotely if you want to do that. So that's another really nice feature that Warm is included here on this pedal. But like I mentioned, the control set is a pretty extensive one that gives you a number of the popular mods and controls that you'd want on a Bluesbreaker circuit. Up top, you've got your volume and gain control, along with the tone control, which round out the classic Bluesbreaker 3-knob circuit. And then you also have a presence control, which allows you to refine that top end presence and the brightness of the pedal. All the way to the right is off, and you'll get the darkest response in that setting. Then you have a set of toggles down here that really shape and define the voicing of the pedal and the gain response of the pedal. So from the left to right, you have the voicing control, which allows you to run in either King mode or Blues mode. And this is where you get to affect the global voicing of the pedal, either towards the modern boutique or towards the classic Bluesbreaker style circuit. You then have your 3-way drive mode toggle that lets you select between overdrive, boost, and distortion. You have your gain level toggle that sets either low or high gain to set basically the maximum gain amount within the circuit. And then the final thing I'll mention is at the top, you've got a voltage boost, which allows you to toggle into an internally jumped 18-volt mode for just a little bit higher clean headroom in the pedal. So we're going to start by just going over some of the foundational sounds in the blues mode, and turn some knobs and hear the range of gain and just the overall texture and voicing of this pedal. I'm going to be playing through the PRS S2 reclaimed semi-hollow that I played in the intro sketch. We're running through a small pedal board of effects, starting with this throne of tone, going into a Strymon Flint for a little bit of reverb, and then utilizing the Milkman Sound Benson the amp for our amp solution, going direct into my warm audio preamp and onto the DAW. Let's start by hearing some of those foundational tones and then circle back to some of those toggles to affect the voicing and the gain structure of the pedal. So next, let's focus in on a couple of those toggles that really help affect the gain, range, and the saturation and the texture of the pedal. We're going to look at the three-way drive mode selector along with this gain level toggle and see how they can help focus in the pedal for the specific context or use case you're wanting to use it for, whether it be a nice low to mid gain overdrive sound in that overdrive mode or a higher gain saturated type lead tone. You can get those with the distortion mode, and utilizing those two toggles just lets you fine tune and kind of set the pedal to the gain level that you want. So let's check that out here. Next, let's talk about the voicing toggle and get a feel for the difference between that King mode, which is the modern boutique King of Tone style sound, and the blues mode, which gives you the classic Bluesbreaker sound and voicing. They're fairly subtly different. You get a little bit different of a response and feel, slightly different EQ profile, but it's nice to have that refinement, that kind of tweak or mod that you can do, again, to help tailor the sound to exactly what you're going for in the context or the tone that you want. So let's check that out now. Next, I just want to demonstrate briefly that voltage boost toggle that you have up top here on the pedal. To my ears, it's a fairly subtle change in the overall feel and sound of the pedal, but it is a nice feature to have, to be able to internally boost that circuit into 18 volts for a little bit higher clean headroom, give you a little bit more clarity overall in the pedal. And it can maybe be useful if you're using different guitars with different outputs, or just want, a slightly different shift in the feel and the headroom of the pedal. So let's hear that now. So that's a look at the Warm Audio Throne of Tone dual overdrive, and I think it's a great option if you're wanting to get that dual Bluesbreaker sound with a lot of different tweaks and features, and maybe don't want to spend the $700 or $800 on the used market to get that modern boutique option, or you don't want to spend 3 years waiting for it. I think it's a nice presentation that gives you some flexibility between the vintage sounding breaker and the modern boutique thing. and gives you a number of different ways to customize the sound for your purposes. Obviously, you get the ability to stack if you want to do that, and so functionally it's a really versatile and dynamic and powerful drive to have in your arsenal or on your pedal board that can cover a huge range of sounds from clean boost all the way up into pretty saturated distortion sounds. So worth checking out, especially if you haven't played or spent time with a Bluesbreaker circuit. It's my favorite style overdrive that I use a ton, and I think it's definitely worth your while. It's a flavor that's a classic sound and can be pretty useful across a number of different contexts. So thanks for watching. Again, drop some comments or questions if you've got them below, and we'll see you on the next one.